On today's episode of UMTV News, Florida's Gulf Coast is bracing for Hurricane Helen that's expected to bring in storm surges up to 15 feet high.
Plus, as child trafficking continues to be a problem, we'll tell you about one organization working to keep kids safe.
And later on, the University of Miami climbs higher in the 2025 U.S. News & World Report rankings.
All this and more on today's show. UMTV News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to UMTV News. I'm Kayla Butter.
And I'm Carolina Lugo Gomez. Thank you for joining us today. Floridians are preparing for Hurricane Helen as the storm barrels towards the west coast, and millions are bracing for a potentially life-threatening storm surge. Helen is currently a tropical storm, but it is forecasted to strengthen into a major hurricane by tomorrow morning. The hurricane watch extends from areas in the northwest of Florida, near Panama City, down to Englewood. This will be the fourth hurricane to hit the United States this year.
The 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly has begun. This meeting of world leaders includes President Joe Biden, comes as wars are raging in Ukraine, Sudan, and the Middle East, which just experienced another violent weekend with bombings from both Israel and Hezbollah. Many of the most politically powerful people on the planet are in the Big Apple.
I couldn't be more grateful to my colleagues for taking the time here in New York to meet together.
The United Nations General Assembly is a yearly summit where leaders discuss global matters. The theme for the 2024 UNGA Summit is Leaving No One Behind, acting together for the advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations.
When we come together, we can solve world problems.
The agenda includes meetings on rising sea levels and combating the threat of antimicrobial resistance to global health. And then there's the elephant in the General Assembly Hall. The current wars taking place across the world, including Lebanon, where hundreds of people were killed Monday in what officials are now calling the deadliest day of Israeli airstrikes in nearly 20 years.
We are seeing a wave of exodus and the targeting of residential areas.
Tensions remain high in the Mideast, where both Israeli and Hezbollah bombing attacks intensified this past weekend. U.S. officials have been calling for a de-escalation for months and will continue to do so at the summit.
Our message is, let us get to a cessation of hostilities in Gaza, and that will hopefully bring an end to all of this.
The UN Security Council is also holding a special meeting on Ukraine as we speak, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected to speak.
According to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, Florida is the third largest hub for human trafficking in the United States. Billy Brightman joins us now live to tell us about what some local groups are doing to protect the most vulnerable group. Billy?
Carolina, the Florida Department of Education says there are 300,000 kids in the country at risk for sexual exploitation. I got the chance to attend a self-defense class for kids so they know how to stop somebody from trying to take them. Like many sports, jiu-jitsu is a fun after-school activity for kids to burn off some steam and for parents to have a break. But on September 21st in Palmetto Bay, Florida, Elemental Jiu-Jitsu and Fitness Martial Arts School partnered with Train to Survive Tactics to bring an important lesson for the whole family.
Predators are on the prowl, and they have so many ways to access the kids now. So now it's more, not only for the children to get training, but for the parents to also know what to be trained on as well.
Stephen and his wife Vialta and Elemental's founder Ernesto Fry brought a child trafficking safety course to the school to teach kids what to do in a dangerous situation.
Stop!
I just wanted to invite
Stop!
I just want to show
Stop!
The children who attended learned how to identify someone to a 911 operator, how to scratch their way out of someone's grasp, and how to anchor themselves to the floor or a car so they can't be picked up. At today's Train to Survive class, kids learned important techniques to use if someone tries to grab them. Let's say I'm a kidnapper. Here's what they've been taught to do. Come here, I'm gonna get you. The most recent human trafficking report from the Florida Department of Children and Families says there were almost 2,100 cases of human trafficking between July 2022 and June 2023. Over 1,600 of those cases involved children. That's almost 80%.
I think especially in today's world it's very important because kids are faced with scenarios everywhere, even at school these days, and it's very important for them to have the knowledge to be able to protect themselves.
The skills taught in the class are just a stepping stone. Train to Survive's owners urge families to constantly put them into practice at home because even a little bit of training is better than nothing at all.
When you don't have training to resort back to in an event of an emergency, a person tends to go to what we call condition black, paralysis. There's no decision, there's no outcome that the brain can give them, so they just freeze up. We need to give people options, training on things to resort to before they end up blacking out in paralysis.
While families learned about individual safety, they built a community that will have their back as well.
To the old saying that we work, to raise a child, it's better done by a village than it is as an individual. I believe in that, and with everybody coming together for this, it's a little bit easier for us to be able to recognize something when we're outside of here.
Train to Survive Tactics hosts classes for people of all ages. If you would like to learn more, visit traintosurvivetactics.com. Live outside the School of Communication, Billy Brightman, UMTV.
Thank you, Billy. Several top campaign officials for North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson have stepped down days after CNN uncovered controversial comments he left on a porn website. Robinson's senior advisor, campaign manager, deputy campaign manager, finance director, deputy finance director, and 2 political directors have all stepped down. Robinson's comments from over a decade ago include him saying he is a, quote, black Nazi, and that he used to peep on women at the gym when he was a teenager.
While crime is spiraling out of control, you folks want to focus on tabloid trash, and quite frankly, I am sick of it. And every time I get in front of you, I'm going to cut you off and tell you, you need to refocus yourself on the issues that matter to people.
Mark Robinson the allegations and continues his campaign for governor of North Carolina.
It's now time for a short break.
But when we come back,
we will introduce you to a new family member of Zoo Miami that is more than just a bundle of cuteness.
And the Canes rise to number 7 as they bring home another win. More when we return.
Is it time yet?
It's time.
Pasta and time for dinner.
Oh, time to take those.
Pasta dinner.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Thank you for staying with us. Today, the U.S. News and World Report dropped the college rankings. The rankings come out once a year. Princeton was ranked number 1 yet again, while other schools have either moved up in the rankings or held the same spot. The University of Miami is ranked 63 this year, which is 4 spots higher than last year's. However, this is not the highest ranking the University of Miami has had. In 2012, we were number 38.
And from academic rankings to football rankings, the U is also up. The Hurricanes are now ranked the 7th football team in the nation after demolishing the University of South Florida 50-15. The Hurricanes marched into Raymond James Stadium having scored 159 points through the first 3 games, and the scoring rampage continued right where it left off. Miami quarterback Cam Ward scored his strong showing as Miami Hurricane, throwing just over 400 yards for 3 touchdowns. But Miami shined on the ground as well, rushing for 188 yards. That includes the longest play from scrimmage in Hurricanes history, a 91-yard rush by freshman running back Jordan Lyle.
Former NFL quarterback and Hall of Famer Brett Favre says that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease while under oath. Favre is the first quarterback in NFL history to obtain 70,000 passing yards and 500 touchdowns. He announces the news in his appearance before the House Ways and Means Committee. after being accused of using political connections to direct money to his alma mater, Southern Mississippi University.
Sadly, I also lost an investment in a company that I believed was developing a breakthrough concussion drug I thought would help others. And I'm sure you'll understand why it's too late for me, because I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Parkinson's disease is a brain disorder that causes uncontrollable movement, and according to research, there is a correlation between self-reported Parkinson's and the history of playing football.
Zoo Miami has been taking care of animals since 1948 and is a pioneer in many global wildlife and environmental conservation initiatives. Zach Macer is live now to tell us more about one addition to Zoo Miami that furthers its efforts to wildlife conservation. Zach, what can you tell us?
Kayla, you are right. There are many ways that Zoo Miami helps wildlife conservation, but this specific addition not only took 13 months, but is super cute as well. Zoo Miami is home to more than 2,500 animals of over 400 different species. But even when one new member joins the Zoo Miami family, everyone is excited.
It's been very exciting for all of the staff here that this calf is now here and part of our family.
The calf in question? This cute and sweet baby Malayan tapir. This adorable tapir was born just 2 Mondays ago and is the first that Zoo Miami has birthed in 18 years. But that's not what makes this baby a miracle child. The baby's mother, Tengi, had been pregnant once before, but it had a stillborn calf just 2 years ago. This time around, thanks to extensive pre-planned matchmaking, Tengi's calf was as healthy as can be.
I'm responsible for monitoring the stud books, which is how we can make the best recommendations to continue to have great genetic diversity in our zoos and maintain that population.
You can see the father of the baby tapir there, and the baby and its mother will be introduced back into the environment about 3 or 4 months. That time frame being because Zoo Miami sets the standard for wildlife conservation when it comes to the Malayan tapir. In fact, Zoo Miami is a leading member of the American Zoo Association, or AZA.
So I manage the Malayan tapir population for AZA, so for all of the zoos within North America.
And even for Ivy, this moment was monumental in her career.
I've been waiting for this for 17 years. This is like that Kelly Clarkson song, A Moment Like This. Like that's what I was singing the entire afternoon after this calf was born.
The Malayan tapir is one of the 130 endangered species cared for at Zoo Miami, and the zoo believes its mission is to create moments like this for every single one of those species.
What zoos do is they serve as an insurance policy against a very uncertain future in the wild. The birth of this baby is just another notch in that insurance policy to help us preserve the species, to help learn more about the species, knowledge that we can then apply to protecting the species in the wild.
Helping these species thrive in their wild natural habitats is the goal every member of Zoo Miami has.
If the zoo is the last place we can see animals, then zoos have failed in what should be their #1 priority, and that is to ensure that these animals can always live in the wild where they belong.
You may be wondering what the name of the baby tapir is, however, it's undecided at this time. What is for sure is that Zoo Miami, this baby represents the hard work that Zoo Miami is doing to conserve that species as well as their other endangered species. Zach Macer, UMTV.
Thank you, Zach. And finally, from the heart of Mérida, Yucatan, to kitchens across the globe, the Dalton family has created Saucy Tacos and Saucy Lips, a true taste of Mexico. A recipe born from love and tradition in their mother's kitchen has now been carried from Mexico to the United States. After immigrating to the United States, the Dalton family wanted to carry on their legacy, which is where Saucy Lips and Saucy Tacos was born. To keep their authentic taste, their family-owned business sources their products and ingredients directly from Mexico.
You know, I'm here selling tacos to the students, but also tomorrow I'm having a business meeting, like meeting with buyers to take my my sauces nationwide. So it's always like feel comfortable where you are and just keep working very, very hard, because if you want it, you'll get there.
You can now find their sauces on their website, Thrive Market, Whole Foods, Amazon, and other food stores. And their tacos are also available every Wednesday at the University of Miami's Farmers Market. And that's all the time we have for this edition of UMTV News. Thank you for joining us.
We'll be back at the same time next week. Have a good night.